So hello everyone, thank you for coming for this presentation. So my name is Flora Pensée. I'm working as a business development manager at Coptis Company. So I will have plenty of time to explain what we are doing and how we can assist you in your development. So my topic for today's presentation will be how to support innovation while digitalizing your R&D data. So I want to show you how you could manage the new customer needs and also the regulatory information you can manage in your lab. And so it's the market compliance plus customer needs and how you can manage that. So during the presentation today, we will review some of the new customer needs and old one, I'm sure, and how digitalizing R&D is possible and how Coptis can offer it through our different solutions. So I will show you how it works, how you can manage your data, show you some of the different screens we have in the system. So let's dig into the presentation. So now I'm sure you are all aware we've been having a lot of talk around that. We are all talking about clean beauty, we are talking about substantiation, transparency. So I think now we are all aware that there is a big checklist to make on your product development. Am I using any pesticide? Do you have any problem with the ingredient I'm using? Is it blacklisted by one of the retailers? Is it free of preservative? Does it have any allergens? What are my scientific proofs? Or am I using biodegradable ingredients? So these are some examples. I'm sure it's not exhaustive as information you should have on your product. So I think it's really difficult today to make innovative product while checking all the parameters and making sure all the ingredients you use are safe and your customer will be interested in. So I think it's very difficult to have the transparency and still be innovative. So how to make this knowledge management more efficient? And talking about knowledge management, I think before we were used in the lab, well, in the old way, to have everything on papers. Maybe it's the case even today for you guys, like in the lab, you have your formula on Excel spreadsheets, you have the MSDFs of your raw material printed in one of the, I don't know, big files somewhere in the shelves. So it's like all over the place, and each team own his own like knowledge, and maybe it's one person having the full knowledge, be able to just check a formula and tells you, okay, this is fine, you can go on the market, customer is gonna love it, and this person leave the company, and then you leave all your live with your knowledge management, right? He's got all the knowledge, so it's quite problematic, I'm sure. Plus, it gives a slowness in the process. So today, it's very important to digitalize your data, so everything remains at one place. You have all the technology that owns your data is not here to replace anyone, is not here to replace the formulator and any good member you have in your teams, but is here to help you, to assist you, to make intelligent use of your data. It's not just about making formula all over the years, it's also about learning and having everything at the same place, especially when the customer are asking for more and more. So it's not just about you and how you want to innovate, but also how you reply to the market while you are being compliant. So I'm sure it's a lot of check to make. Yeah, having a system gives you an automatization of your data. It also helps on the collaboration within your team. It helps to have a synergy to think about how to design our next product and how to be more efficient on our innovation. So talking about innovation, if we look at the innovation process, it's well, very large presentation, but if we look at it from the marketing brief to the production, because I'm really focused on the R&D today, so we have the first part about the design thinking. So the design thinking part where first you make your ingredient selection. What are the new active? What kind of product do I want to make in function of your marketing brief, obviously. And then you're gonna dig into the formula development. What kind of formula do I want? How it should look? What I want to feel on my skin? And then making the compliance check. There are lots of different steps, just look at it globally. Then you have the controls. So when you have a formula, a version that is fine for you, you want to make sure it's stable, and you want to test also with the conservative system, and you want to try also with the scale-up. So it's even more information to enter and to manage on your formula, while checking the safety of this product, obviously with the security evaluation. And at the end of all of that, you still have the documentation to be made, so ingredient list and any other reports that you will need for the market. So it could be product information file, and it could be a safety assessment, and it could be something more. So I'm sure this can be the work for one person, or it can be a full team, it can be different team. But in any case, it's a lot of information to process, it's a lot of information to check, and you still have to be reactive. You still want to be on the market and to be transparent with your customers. So how do you manage that today? All this data management, from the marketing brief we have seen to the production, is for you to reply to your customer needs, for sure. We also need to guarantee the traceability and transparency. Where are my raw materials coming from? How do we produce the raw materials? What is the carbon footprint of them? And then what about my formula? How do we produce it, and what is the impact of this formula? And then the safety, obviously. Are we having any claims on the packaging? Where is this claim from? And yeah, I'm sure we had a lot of talk about that for the 2 last days. So then you need to confirm and justify the compliance. So if you are exporting to US, or if you're exporting to China or Europe or UK, everything is so different. We can see it's moving a lot. It's always changing. So we need to be adaptive on that as well, while designing a sustainable product, as we also mentioned it. And meanwhile, you still need to cultivate innovation to make a difference. So I think it gives us a good overview of what we need to do, how many data we need to manage, and doing that on paper is very difficult. So how a system can help you, and what can be automatized, that's what I want to show you. So what Coptis does is we produce a software. So we basically offer one system, one main system. It's a lab system that helps you to manage your R&D information. And then we have databases. Databases, they are here to give you access to information, ingredients information if you're looking for raw materials, regulatory information if you want to check the compliance of your product, and toxicological information for the safety assessment. So the software can make it by its own, like if you have the information, if you have the data on your raw materials, if you have the toxicological knowledge, if you have the regulatory knowledge, you can manage all of that without the database, because the database, they are here more like libraries to help you to access information. But the main thing, and I'm going to focus on that, is the software. So how a software that contains all your R&D data is here to assist you. So this software is called Coptis Lab. And it has several modules. So you have the first modules that helps to manage raw materials. So what are the ingredients inside your formula? What kind of ingredients you have? Where are they coming from? What is the composition of those raw materials? And any documentation you may have on them. Then you have a module for formulation. What are your different formula? What are your brands? Are you working for several customers? Are you using the same formula for different customers? Or any version you have on your formula, something is changing in the regulation, or an ingredient is discontinued, then you have a new version. You can manage everything, pretty much everything on that formulation module. You also have a regulatory module, which is connected to the formulation and the raw material. You create a formula, and you will have the regulatory data, talking about INCI restriction, an OIL for toxicological safety assessment, and all the documents that you need to edit for each market. We can also manage quality control for the batches and the lots of ingredients of formula. We can also manage packaging items, actually. And the testing. So actually, it's an interesting part for the test, because we are now working on an AI system to help you to predict the stability of a formula. So you enter the formula, and automatically will tell you, okay, this formula is going to be unstable or stable, maybe. So it gives you a percentage of chance that it's going to be stable. So we are working on that. But apart from that, we can also manage all the testing in the system. and the packaging. So if you want to manage your finished product, what kind of packaging you use, again, are they sustainable or not? Are they from recyclable products? Again, it's really related to the R&D part here. So any packaging you try with your formula can be registered in the system, and you can have all the alerts and information while doing your finished product. So it's a lot of talking, but now let's look at the different kind of screen that we have for each of these modules. So one is the ingredient. As I was mentioning, we have the raw materials. So what we want to manage on raw material on the system, we have a lot of pages. I'm not going to show you all the pages. It's like 20 years of development, but we have the possibility to customize warnings. So you can say, okay, for my company, what is important? I want to highlight when a product is certified Cosmos or EcoCert, or I want to highlight when it's halal or vegan. I don't know, it's customizable. So you customize the warning on the raw materials. You can also obviously enter the INCI list of your raw materials. Is it like 100% of one INCI? Is it a mixture of INCI? Talking about INCI, we provide the INCI list, so just based on COSING or PCPC or ICIC, we have the listings. And then you enter the INCI breakdown of the raw material, or the supplier does if you use the raw material database. So obviously that's going to help when you create a formula to automatically have an ingredient list, because everything is connected in the system. On top of that, we also have the origin. You can enter the origin of your raw materials. Is it natural? Is it a synthesis origin? And what is the percentage? Obviously, it can be a mixture. We have some shortcut on ISO 16128 on Cosmos, but it can be NATRU, it can be any other certification. Again, when you create a formula, you can export at any time, showing you the origin of each raw material. And also another interesting screen is about the substantiation. So do I have any claim on that raw material? And has the manufacturer made any tests on this raw material? So you can obviously highlight if it was tested or not on animals. So again, then you can make the quicker check on your formula. And if any property was evaluated, what kind of tests they have done, what kind of result they obtain, you can register all this kind of information. It can be like this information entered inside the system, or it could be also a document that is attached. So automatically, when you have a formula, you can export all the information from there. So these are some information we can manage on raw materials, because today I'm really focusing on the customer needs, so substantiation, origin, the different warnings and ingredients. We can go deeper. I mean, you can manage the pricing, you can manage IFRA information, so like more regulatory information. Stocks, you can go a bit deeper depending on what kind of information you manage on your raw materials today and how you manage them also. So it's a good question to ask yourself, what kind of data do I have on my raw materials? How can I get more, and how do I store this information so it's easy to find when I create a formula? And so that is why also we are developing a database which contains ingredients. We are working with the manufacturers, and they share this kind of information. But again, it's free for you to use or not, because you can enter this information yourself in the system. And the important point is everything is related in the system. So now if we go to the formulation module, so we have this formulation module where, okay, I'm on a very specific project here. I'm having the drop-down list of all my trials. So what you see, there are like trial codes that I have populated myself. Again, it's customizable. And you see the versionings. So what we see with the pictogram is like, okay, these are the different stages I've been through. Like when you have the hands, is I have submitted to the marketing or to the person in charge, to my customer, and it was rejected or accepted. So obviously, anytime you can have the comments coming with it. And then we have done the scale up, and then the one in active manufacture is the last one. So you have the whole traceability of what happened inside your system. So for that very specific project. And from there, you can create any formula. Again, you can copy an existing formula, you can create a new formula. Coptis is not giving any formula. It's all about your data again. So how to create a formula? When we create a formula, we add raw materials, okay? So here what you see, each line is a raw material. So they are classified by a trade name. We can see them on the left. We can have like alternative raw materials if you like. You can connect them. You can have different suppliers. But here they are, the raw material you have selected for this particular formula. Automatically, I have the INCI breakdown, but I could have all the other information I have just presented before because they are included in the raw material module, we remember. So now that's why when I create my formula, automatically I have all the warnings directly from there. So for instance, we look at the column. We have the first one here, allergens. This is a warning column. I have decided to show you the allergens. It could have been a different column about Cosmos or halal or vegan. You could check all the warning at one go. But at least when I'm doing my formulation, automatically I have all the different like smiley or warning sign on my raw materials. Second column is about the restriction and the compliance. Again, from here you can make a filter on your project. This formula is only for California, or this formula is only for US and Europe, and more you can just add the different market where you want to export it. So directly from the formula, you have a warning. We're going to go deeper in the compliance just in the after slide. We also have a status on the raw material. So you could say, okay, this raw material in yellow or maybe orange, there are samples that just have a sample for now, or they are not authorized. So you can also manage the different status. It's an easy way to manage your different raw materials. You also have what we call the ban list or blacklist, as you prefer. So it could be, depending on your brands, okay, you have a brand, you don't want to use paraben, you don't want to use phenoxyethanol, or maybe you have a retailer and they don't want to use certain restricted list INCI. I think it really depends on what they are saying. It's not like a regulation. So it's more like policies, internal policies or your retailer policies. So you can ban list it. So for instance, here on my raw material called Phenonip, I have this black cell. So it's saying, okay, it contains an INCI that is blacklisted, so I can't use that raw material for this formula. And I don't realize that at the end when everything is done, right? Yeah, and another information on the pricing, which we know is also very important while developing a formula. It's not just about the customer needs and the market. We also need to check the price. So this is also a feature that we have in the system to compare the different pricing in function of my supplier and the raw material I'm choosing. So this is really the aim, and I think the core value of what we are doing. We want to give the formulator and the regulatory team all the information on one screen, maximum of info from here. You make your formula and we help you, because we're not going to choose the raw material for you, but we give you the chance to have all the information at one place. And it's like trying to be very efficient. And so this is where we're also working on the AI project. So I'm not introducing it today. It's like a R&D project at the moment. We have participants. We are building this algorithm where the system learns how to predict stability of a formula, and we already have good results. So I'm sure this will be a good help in the future while formulating. So as you can see, while I'm formulating, I'm having all this information on the warning and ban list, and so I mentioned the compliance. So if we look into the compliance, we have the possibility on each INCI to have regulatory data. So this regulatory data in purple, it's actually the information we provide as a regulatory database provider. But you could enter your own knowledge. You could have subscribed to another system and just enter the knowledge here. Then it's automatically uploaded in the system. So when you have a raw material with an INCI breakdown. For instance, here we have the case of phenoxyethanol. So we have lots of different information on phenoxyethanol for all the different markets and all different applications, because it could be general case, it could be children products. And so each time I'm using phenoxyethanol in one of the raw material and using the raw material in my formula, I have the automatic alerts. So this is how it's working. I mean, we can provide the database, but you can also enter your own knowledge. And even before having the database, we had what we call the regulatory group. So it was like a way to give access to regulatory information. So it's a community of users, so laboratory like yours. We have having a lot of customers around the world, and they are sharing their knowledge. So one laboratory might say, okay, I'm aware of the phenoxyethanol regulation in Australia because we have customers there, and then you want to export over there, and you can check with the data they have shared. So it's called the regulatory group. It's actually free of charge and available in the system. So it's also a way to access the data without subscribing to a database. So This was just a zoom on the regulation. So yeah, we were talking about the claims. That's something you can manage in the system. I don't want to spend too much time, but for the claims, you can manage with the system the tests. So as I was saying, it's not just about an AI system that predicts the stability of the formula. You can also manage your stability test and any other test that you will perform on your formula. So you set the objectives on your trial. So I want to have, I don't know, a better penetration, and I want to check the stability of my formula. So you plan all the different tests, and Coptis is helping you to create the calendar of testing. So every day you connect into the system, and the system is telling you today you have stability tests to make, you have challenge tests to make, and then you can enter the results and have a status. So then here what we see is like an overview for my project, all the different trials I have and all the different tests I have performed and when with a status. I can have an overall status on my formula here also, which is visible. So it's like a dashboard then on your projects. And this is an example of a calendar where you can enter the results. So obviously it's a lot of data. It depends on what you do inside the system, whether you are managing the raw material information, the test, or the formula development. But at the end, it's one system that helps to produce like all the documentation you need, because obviously if we manage raw materials and test and formula, well, everything is in the system. So then the system can prepare the documentation you need. It can be an INC list, it can be a raw material origin brief, it can be a product information file, safety assessment, and anything that you need. And the system helps to prepare everything together. So yeah, I'm sure it can save great time for me here as well. And finally, what I want to present are the search. So you can make search inside your system to look for all the raw material that you use with, I don't know, certain criteria. I want to see in my database if I have any raw material that is natural or certified EcoCert, or maybe something different, like I want to see what, I don't know, shampoo I have developed this year. So you can make the search thanks to the criteria. We have this advanced search, then you get the filter results. You can make, report from there. So again, we really want to give access and synergy to the team. So I think this is actually my point. In few words, having one system like this definitely help you on productivity because it's a time-saving place where a system can automatize all the calculation and document creation. It helps to communicate within the different teams or within the companies on what happened, what kind of solution we have, what we have developed in the past, and also keeping the knowledge inside the company. We have the quality where you can rely on your information. You have the transparency, you know where it's coming from, what kind of raw material you are using. Everything is like secure inside your system. And obviously you get quick results. So from a customer, what we can say is most of the time they say 30% of their time, especially if they are not using any system before. Maybe it's more than 30% of the time. And we have noticed a return on investment in less than 18 months because, yeah, obviously, as you can understand, we are saving a lot of time here. So if you're interested, we are making demonstration because the show is ending at 4 p.m. Maybe we don't have the time to talk today. Do not hesitate to grab a card or give me a card, and we do live demonstration, online demonstration. And I will be really happy to reply to any question if you have, or just discuss a bit later. So thank you very much for listening to me. Sorry, I was a bit rushing in the end, but I hope it was clear. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions for Flora?
Hi.
Hi.
So obviously you talk about the R&D tool, right? But do you have anything to manage registration, like for the finished product, once you have all your documentation and everything, to manage the registration of your finished product, or to manage the dossier, and like for different countries, I don't know.
Yeah, indeed. So you can, well, it's not connected to the final portal, but it can help you to prepare all the documentation. So how it works is you can prepare a template. saying, for instance, in the product information file, first I need to present my product and the manufacturing process and the composition and so on, the test you have done. So you create this skeleton of your template, and then you can make it for every formula that you have managed inside the system. The system is actually centralizing all the data you have on that product. So you can make any template for all the markets, but it's you to create the template, right? So it's not like we are providing a service, but we are giving you the tool to create that template and then automatize the way that you can create for each product this document.
Okay, and then for registration, right? Is there a way of tracking registration? And let's say I've registered this product in X country, Y country, Z country, and like manage, like I don't know, I have like a reformulation and I need to track now what do I have to do in that I mean, I don't know. Do you have like a way?
Yeah, I think, well, we need to see exactly how to manage that, but I guess if you have kind of a planning on your project and you have this validation workflow, so if something is happening, then you can say, okay, we have to go into inactive manufacture because we have to revise this formula. So then you go into a new process of developing a new formula, revising the ingredient list. It's not a project management system. I think maybe we are mixing a bit of both here because yeah. So I guess on one side there is like where I have uploaded my document and what are the different stages. We can have the status on the document, and then how you need to review the formula is manageable inside the system indeed.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And I was just wondering, you mentioned the AI for testing the stability, or giving you an idea of what the stability of formulas will look like. When do you imagine that will be integrated?
Well, it's already integrated, but it's like a beta system at the moment because it's an algorithm that learns. The more participants we have, the more reliable is the algorithm. It's like learning from all the formula our clients have, and then when you see a new formula, you can say, okay, this should be stable, or this is going to be unstable. Yeah, so it's also a matter of reviewing the system because sometimes some formula are abundant, but we don't know if it was because of the stability or something else. So it depends on how you use the system as well. So
the call to action is use that system and help make it even better.
Participate to the future of formulation.